Well, hello.
Hello.
Is this Bob 2.01 or what is it?
Well, Bob 2.1.
Bob 2.1.
Yes.
Oh, very good. So,
a second.
so number one is the second in the series.
Yes. Well, the first one was a pilot, a taster of the second series.
Okay.
Watch more to come.
Nice one.
More Bob.
Would you like to start the show with our little song?
Oh, that little song.
That little song.
Yes.
Would you like to start? Because you're the only one who knows the bloody words. Except for the bobbers out there, of course.
Yes, of course. Yes. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. 2 squares apiece, 4 squares a slice. It's free to listen at half the price. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. The brothers of Battenberg will show you the world. Oh, I don't like it outside.
Oh, neither do I. Neither do I.
Still freezing, isn't it?
We've been up the Mes today.
We have.
Up
It's
at
still
Queensway.
cold up there. If
Yeah,
you're
it's been
wondering.
snowing all day.
It's bloody cold.
But we've got a fire on. We've got a heater by the side of it. It's wonderful. My
There we
fingers
go.
have gone from ivory to pink.
Oh, luxury. Luxury.
Raynos. Yes. So what sort of week have you had? You've had a bit of an up and down week, and I've had a bit of an up and down week, and we've all had a bit of an up and down week, I think, have we?
Well, it's we've been up and over the hills, haven't we? It's Tuesday. Sorry, that was a little facetious. But yes,
Was
well,
that?
it was a little bit. Yes, week. Well, the week is young as far as I'm concerned. Really, we're only on Tuesday,
Yes.
so yeah,
Yeah, but we've been productive this afternoon and
We
today,
have.
haven't we?
we've been mind mapping, haven't we?
Mind mapping.
We've realised that we've got loads to do.
We realise that Sci-Fi has a mind.
Not of my own. I don't know whose it is, but it's definitely not mine.
It's a one-off.
Buy one, get one free.
Absolutely. So, in this new series, do we still need to tell people what we do?
Yes, I think so.
Because we still have new people. We actually had quite a few new ones last time.
Hello, new people,
as
new
new
bobbers.
bobbers. Yes,
We're here to start a conversation, aren't we?
we are.
Start a conversation.
Which seems to be quite a popular thing around in various formats now.
All right.
And also, I think people are looking to talk more. I've seen quite a bit
Yes.
of it around just recently, and
You've seen people talking.
well, around mental health and things like that,
Okay.
and social isolation, which I think is something that if we've affected one bobber positively in that way, when they're not feeling particularly great,
Yes.
and they like seeing a couple of buffoons talking nonsense about everything.
Speak about yourself, sir. I'm a
Oh, I
premier
am.
primate, thank
Oh,
you.
I am.
I shop at the co-op.
Do you really?
No,
Oh, I do.
I just said it because it's posh.
It's
but
the meal
socialist.
deal, isn't it?
It's leftist luxury, isn't it? It's like it's nice, but not too nice.
What, the co-op?
Yeah,
Oh, it's the pioneers, isn't it?
is it?
Oh, yeah, the
I ain't got
cooperative
any
movement.
pioneers. Sorry, I became Mr. Sleep for a second there.
Yes, I've got him on the dad jokes. There used to be a wonderful bridge going into Rochdale,
Right.
which is actually the home of the pioneers, the original pioneers who set up the cooperative movement.
Oh, I see.
And there's still, I think, about 30 or 40 MPs in the country who are sponsored, who actually go under the Labour banner, but are actually Labour and cooperative MPs. And Rochdale was very proud of the fact that it had the birthplace of the cooperative movement.
Okay.
And they actually put on a bridge going down towards Tesco as you come off I think it's the 627, is it? Something like that.
Right.
And it said, Rochdale,
Specific.
birthplace of the coop,
Okay, yes.
on the grounds that they basically forgot to put the hyphen in.
Come on, we
And
can.
I used to love that going down. I used to think, yeah, Rochdale is definitely a coop.
We could send this. Should we send this to Rochdale Tourist Board or?
I think they've
co-op?
probably rectified it by now, but
Right.
it was certainly
We've put the hyphen in.
around the when was I in Rochdale? Sort of 1990-ish. No, earlier than that, 87 through to about 2002.
That was quite a big chunk of time, that.
No, through to 93, something like that.
Oh,
in
93.
Rochdale. So
For
up
5 years.
near Saddleworth, but I was backwards and forwards for a long while. One of those long distance relationships, you know.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, keep it. I was kept at arm's length.
We several arms length. It sounds like.
When they let me close, it all fell apart. Yes.
They did. And how's your week been?
Up and down, as I say. Things have been tough. Struggled with a few things, but also had some joys as well. Managed to get to Tropical World with young Jessica.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, and I managed to persuade a meerkat to sit properly and have its photo taken, which was very good. And follow the Japanese tourists round.
Oh, great.
God,
Did you take photos of them?
They've got some
one.
bloody gadgets, I'll tell you.
I'm sure they have.
This lad just got this tablet out. I said to Jessica, "What's that?" She says it's the new iPad something. And it was an amazing thing. And he was taking photos on full screen of the iPad. And the definition was just lovely. Yeah, he was taking crap photos, but he was and lots of them.
Of course. They love a good photo. My
They
God,
do.
do they love a good
They
photo.
do.
Several.
I've got a photo of him somewhere, so yeah, I'll dig that one out.
Cool.
So, 2 subjects.
Yes, 2 squares make a slice is the song.
No, 4 squares
Prelude.
make a slice.
2 squares. Oh, yeah.
2 squares apiece.
Thank you.
Have you done this before?
My maths. 2 plus 2 equals 12.
So, four topics of conversation.
Yes, we bring 2 each. I don't know what Richard's bringing, and you don't know what I'm bringing.
I've never got a bloody clue. On the grounds, I'm not entirely sure that you know what you're bringing.
I brought some notes for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I brought notes this time. Yeah, I've got them. Do you want to see? I'll bring them out in a second.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So Pie the Poetry Guy,
Yes,
Brothers of Battenberg, Bob,
Brothers of Battenberg.
first square.
My first square.
What's your first square this week? So Pie the Poetry Guy.
My first square this week is books.
Books.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
I like a good book.
Well, exactly.
What are you thinking of?
Well, I'll ask you in a moment what your favourite books are.
Okay.
I was in the library with our Letty yesterday, I think it was.
Okay.
And she's doing a bit of photocopying. Great library service. And I was surrounded by books. I thought I had the opportunity to go and help get some change or whatever, but I decided to stay around the books and browse.
Browse.
Yes, browse.
Okay.
And I thought I'd count the amount of books roughly that were in that quite small library, really.
Yeah.
And still in just a one-room small library, I guess there was between like 2,000 to 4,000 books, maybe around 3,000 books, which is
Is
incredible.
that a lot for a library or a little for a library?
For a major library, probably quite a little. But I thought even still in such a small space, that's a lot of literature.
It is. It's a lot of words, isn't it?
Yeah, a huge amount of words. A lot of trees that have sacrificed themselves on the altar of knowledge.
Yeah, you see. A book's not good anymore then.
Well, this is the thing. The other thought I had while I was in there was that someone that was in the library as well, their phone had got most likely all those books plus a billion others, and it was only that small. So
Yes.
That's quite a thing, isn't it?
It's quite a thing where people use their Kindles or
Yes.
things like that, don't they?
Got a library that's millimetres thick and yet got valleys of volumes.
It's something I must do, the Kindle, because I've
Yes.
largely stopped reading. Not from a perspective of reading information or reading about things, but more from the novel perspective and the fiction and that I used to read, on the grounds that my eyes are buggered.
Okay.
And there's no, I can read in really good light, so on the toilet, in the bath, those types of things.
Okay.
I can often come out like a prune after I've been in the bath.
Yes. Amazing.
But in terms of reading, I'm not doing as much as I used to, and I think that may be a trend with a lot of people, and perhaps it's just that I need the backlit screen now, and that my eyes are really quite poor.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of people, bookworms, if you will, they potentially you can strain your eyes from reading too much. I believe.
Can you?
Yeah, I think so. I've always assumed.
You have an
that,
eye, you have
people-
eye strain, don't you?
Yes. A lot of people, librarians, they wear glasses, don't they? And I've always thought, it's from reading.
Well, they used to say that if you wore glasses and you sort of looked over your eyes like that,
Yeah.
you looked bookish.
Oh, yes.
And maybe
Bookish. There was a trend, wasn't there, in the
I
early
try not to look too
noughties?
silly when I pull my glasses down, but they are necessary.
There was a fashion, wasn't there, when people had those, they wore glasses, like Rowan Keating and one of the Spice Girls, Sporty Spice. They both wore glasses because it was cool, and they didn't need them at all. But as you say, it probably alludes to that bookish, academic look that...
Perhaps it was that
seen
roller
when you
coaster
came
he was
round.
on.
You don't need glasses for a roller coaster.
Life is a roller coaster. Quite like that.
It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Found love. Where are my glasses? Yeah. So books, yeah. So I mean, the thing, I've actually started reading more recently of the physical books,
Yeah.
which I've found space in my life to do that, which has been great. And really, really enjoying dipping in and out of completely different worlds. That's what books do, don't they? I've been in Hollywood, between Hollywood and London. I've been in China, and down in Kent, in Oakfield, listening to all sorts and learning all sorts from scientists,
When you say listening,
children
is that because they're
superstars.
audio books?
No, did I say listening?
Yeah.
Oh right, I didn't. That was completely unconscious. I mean, I do have. I'm sure everyone. When I read a book, I hear a voice in my head.
Oh, I make up the voices.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm reading to kids.
Oh yeah.
Just about finished with reading now. I got through Narnia, and I got through various other sort of children's classics with her. Gulliver's Travels was one that she really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Jonathan Swift. But in terms of the bedtime reading, I'm probably past that now, and perhaps I can spend that time to go back to reading of my own. But I've always been an avid reader, and I still am. But as I say, it's more about finding information out. I'm an infoholic, so I tend to digest great tracts of information. I don't know why, but I just seem to need to do it.
Yeah.
It's just part of my psyche, if you like, that I need to know.
Do you have a favourite book when you were reading more?
As a kid, I was quite sort of, well, I still am a little sort of left of centre, but I really liked Zola.
Zola?
Emile Zola. My favourite book was a book of sort of struggle of the masses, and it was called Germinal. And I actually read it. Your mum will be so proud of me. But I actually read it in French at one point, which sounds very poncy, but is actually true.
Okay.
But Germinal was this massive struggle, and you could feel the oppressed and the oppression and so on. And it inspired him from that perspective. The struggle to succeed, the struggle to make your way through life, if you like.
Was it set in France?
Yes, but it's set in. I'm trying to think when Germinal was actually set. It probably was set in early 19th century, early mid 19th century. But I may well be wrong with that one. Okay. It's a long time since I've read Zola. But more recently, my favourite author for probably 2 decades has been Irving Welsh.
Yes, I remember you saying
and you can still see in the mares in the back, there is a bookshelf there with every Irving Welsh novel on there, which started off with a sort of trying to read Train Spotting,
which is all in
Irving
Scottish
Welsh.
dialect, isn't it?
And the only way you can read Irving Welsh is perhaps by putting on an extremely bad Scottish accent. And at that point, the writing becomes more real and more understandable.
Yeah.
Or it did to me. And certainly some of the voices that I had in my head for Train Spotting, especially people like Begbie and things like that, they were really, it was really sort of, I found my way into the book by almost imagining myself to be there in
That's
sort
the
of
best
Edinburgh and
books,
Leith.
isn't it?
But also the extraordinary understandings that Irving Welsh has. I think probably more from a male perspective, although he's becoming a lot more, how can I put it, fluid and inclusive in his writing, and also more ambitious in many ways. I mean, one of the books I read recently was from the perspective of a Californian lesbian.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a long way away from train spotting, if you like. But
Rice
still, the
Beach.
levels of understanding and the levels of getting in under the skin and the psyche of the characters and why they do things. Train spotting's a classic example. Why is there all that violence? Why is there the need to find oblivion through drink, drugs, or whatever? Why are some people nasty? Why are some people kind?
Sure. I've never really. I've never been a big reader particularly.
Okay.
And now that I'm reading more, I've always tended to go for non-fiction.
Yeah.
But I do remember when I went travelling, that was a great time to read. And one of the books I managed to read was Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea.
Wow.
Which
Not
is
read that. Yeah.
Well, you should.
I'd
as
love
a
to.
fisherman. I don't know if I'll try and fish it out for you.
Hey!
There you go. And that's a beautiful book. Hemingway, probably from my short amount of fictional knowledge, I really enjoy his writing style because it's very simple. He's not a pretentious writer. He's not a complicated writer. He loved to be simple with it. I think it was him. I'd heard something about how he used to write, and he did write. He used to be a fisher. He did do stuff on the seas, and he'd write.
Oh, he was a big game fisherman. Yes, he was. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. He lived life to the absolute max. Did Ernie?
Yes, he'd spend 3 hours in the morning, I believe, writing, then going off fishing in the afternoon, and then pub for the rest of the day. And
I'm up for that.
yeah, and that's what he did pretty much every day. But yeah, The Old Man and the Sea is a wonderful tale about. Can't really ruin it, but it's
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's essentially about a man's relationship with the sea and this fish that he's trying to catch, and that's it. And it's beautifully written, and it's really simple. So I enjoyed him on a fictional level.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of books, I do wonder whether the book has had its day in some ways, but I love the turning of a page rather than the flicking of a button. It's more inclusive. It's more you feel more part of it. A book is something with a cover that kind of tells you or excites you as to what might be inside, if you like. Whereas an electronic image just doesn't do that for me in the same way.
No.
It's not the same involvement, the same energies that you place within a book. You rarely do with other things.
Definitely, I think books, they may well be dying out in some ways, and perhaps that is, for the sake of mentioning trees before, a good thing. Although there's a huge amount of books. I bought 4 books for 50p the other day, 40p, well, 50p in the end.
Which probably says a lot, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. I just wanted one book because there's this whole thing about decluttering life. We've all got far too many things of everything.
That is a thing about books.
And books can be part of that. Very heavy to move around. So I was wary of that. So I tried to be quite selective in what I was picking up. And I went to the desk and said, I'll just have this one. And I was going to give her 50p for it. That's what I thought the book sale said. And she was like, oh, no. It's you can get a whole plastic bag full for 50p. And I was like, well, I don't want a whole plastic bag. I've got not hundreds, but tens of books, scores that I haven't read already on my bookshelf, and I'm still buying more. So I don't want that. So I took 4. I was like, oh, go on, I'll get 4 then. So I got 4, and then I gave her the money for that. And she's like, 40p. I was like, no, keep the 10p because I want to see the library do well in a small way that I can do. But it's like, they're trying to get rid of them. Obviously, trying to shift them.
Well, on Peak, the charity shop, and I understand quite a lot of charity shops now, they don't actually take books in anymore because they've just got too many.
Yeah.
And I think the books that sell are not necessarily indicative of the books that stay with you for the rest of your life. I'm not sure that anybody would. Some people might say this, that James Patterson, who I believe is the highly sold author in the world. I'm not sure that they would say that a James Patterson book particularly would be their favourite book ever, and yet it's more the frothy end, isn't it? The page turner end, if you like. And the books and the books that sell and the books that are on the bookstores tend to be things like Mills and Boon, which apparently are quite collectible now. You know, the frothy, the escapist, if you like. And I think that's the purpose of a book. You know, when I used to read something from one genre, and then I would go diametrically opposite to something from a completely different genre. So I might have a sports biography followed by a sci-fi fantasy, followed by a travelogue of the Urals or whatever, followed by Irving Welsh.
Yeah.
And it would be about bouncing around between ideas and thoughts and broadening myself, if you like.
Yeah.
Which I'm very good at.
But there we go. And that I guess brings us back to the worlds in which you can dip into.
Yes.
I think that's all right from our square.
But that's learning, isn't it?
Yes, it is learning. Adventures into the unknown.
Books. Turn over a new leaf. That's my first one.
There we go. Was that your first one?
No,
Leaves?
No. There's no leaves at this time of year.
No, you're right. No leaves.
No, but I do have a first square.
Oh, good.
I do. And my first square,
Yes.
I thought I'd perhaps lighten it a little.
Okay.
You know how we have a bit of sort of wordplay on Bob and so on occasionally, where we bring a word that perhaps has other meanings.
Yeah.
I'm expressly thinking of the when you brought dikes.
Oh, yes.
And I had no idea what to make of it. So essentially I asked you whether or not it was the one that you put your finger in.
Yeah, yes.
And that kind of thing's my first square.
Oh, right.
So I mean, you may have a favourite. You may have a favourite. You may have a favourite.
All right.
But my square this week is pear.
I see.
Do you like a lovely pear?
A lovely pear. Oh, yeah.
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 What do you like about a pear?
I like a pear. Well, I quite like an odd pear, to be honest.
An odd pear?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like my socks?
Exactly.
For those that know me, I always have odd socks in case a meat shit hits me.
He does. I mean, it depends what kind of pear you're talking about. I'm not that partial to a fruity pear.
A fruity pear?
Although
Because
the
that's
juice
another
is
pear,
quite
isn't
nice.
it?
That is another pear.
Yes. So we've got PEAR
Yes.
as a pear.
And we've got a pear. Well, you can have a pear of all sorts, can't you? You can have a pear of.
What do you know about pears?
What do I know
The
about
fruit.
The fruit. Well, they can be prickly.
They can be prickly, which is not a pear at all.
They can be poached.
Is a prickly pear a pear at all?
Well, I don't know. Depends.
It's a cactus, isn't it?
I don't know. I always think of Baloo when I think of prickly pears.
Baloo, the bear out of
The
Jungle
bear.
Book.
Yes.
Oh, why is there a bit in Jungle Book with a prickly pear?
There is, yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
I like those. I think it was one of those shows. What were those? Jackass.
All right.
Where basically they were running naked at large cactuses. That was quite an interesting thing to watch.
Task for the day.
Yeah, prickly pears in the extreme.
God.
But I mean, there are lots of words. I mean, it's one of those words that there are lots of meanings. You've come up with a couple. I mean, we've talked about pair of socks. We've talked about a lovely pear.
Yes.
We've talked about succulent pears.
Yes.
I mean,
is that not the same thing? I don't know.
No, they're not. No, I mean, we're talking about the fruit.
Juicy pears.
But there is also there is another spelling as well that I don't know if you're aware of, being a bookish man, and that is PARE.
Okay.
To pare something down.
Ah.
But also paring is something that I did an enormous amount as a kid.
Right.
Because I had a sheath knife.
Okay.
Kids today, they're not hard at all. I had a bloody sheath knife
Get
about
a knife.
that long.
Fight with your fists.
I've still got a 4-inch one, which I was told I could go to jail with in court, but that's another story.
We need it in jail, to be fair. I'd take a knife to jail.
And that was just a Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army knife. But paring is whittling. Do you know what
Right.
whittling is?
Yes, you whittle
You know,
a
you
stick.
just sort of make something a little bit smaller.
Or
You
pointy
perfect it, if you like.
Yes,
Or you
do
can
this
whittle a
crafting.
spoon. Or you
Yes.
can whittle a tent peg. That was what we used to do in the clubs and so on. But nowadays, they won't let you anywhere near a paring knife. In the
Right.
kitchen, we've got paring knives.
Yes.
And that is essentially to be a little bit more accurate and make something just a little bit more how you want it rather
Yes.
than the way it is previously.
It's a delicate instrument.
It is. It's a pairing instrument.
Yeah,
But we also pair off, don't we?
we do.
We do. We pair off. I mean, we
Like
are a pair.
penguins.
We are a right pair.
We're a right pair, yes,
we could
we
be a
are.
right pair as well.
Yeah.
And in terms of the pairing of things, we tend to feel more secure in a pair, perhaps. There is strength in a pair.
I think there can be. I mean, personally, I've rightly or wrongly kind of shuddered at pairs. I'm not. I think pairs can be good. I think of oneness. I'm more secure in oneness, whether that be myself or as a community, than I am with pairs.
Oh, yeah.
On the whole, yeah.
All right, okay. I thought you were quite happy with this pair, this pairing.
I'm doing it for you.
What is this, carrying the flipping community or what? What is it? Yeah?
I'm doing the work of Noah.
I try my best.
You're
I'm trying to take him into the 21st century and back.
Why do you try? Exactly, you're trying to take me as your own.
Yeah.
Possess me as a pair.
Yeah, so pairs. I mean, pairs of jeans.
Yeah, a pair of jeans. That's funny because that would instigate. That would allude to the fact that just one leg is a jean.
It would, wouldn't it?
But it never says that. Pair of jeans, pair of trousers. So that's just a trouser.
Well, but a pair says two, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Pair is the definition of two. I mean, you don't have a group of 3 or 4 and call them a pair.
No.
Unless there were 2 groups of 3 or 4, and then there would be a pair of groups.
Yeah. Now that's the kind of pair I'm talking about.
I know which pair's your favourite, don't you worry. You just absolutely got it, yeah. So pairing, another type of pairing,
Yes.
is one that's quite common and something that people don't realise. When they see in Parliament, they're talking about something important. I saw one recently where someone got very angry that there was a certain debate that was very important, and I think it was around the armed forces, or there was another one around mental health recently, where it seemed like Parliament didn't care, and there was a vote at the end of it. And the truth is, probably Parliament didn't care enough. But in terms of why the benches are empty in Parliament, if you can't make a particular debate or whatever, you find somebody who has the opposite view to yourself, and who will vote against you.
Yes.
And you both agree to pair, and therefore neither of your votes count. So the actual debate and argument and discussion and what actually happens is unaffected by your absence. And pairing became quite... when the Theresa May majority was essentially slipping down to being held up by the DUP and so on and so forth, and there were lots of things around Brexit votes and so on, it became, this is something that's been going on for 200-300 years, 400 years, pairing in Parliament to ensure fairness, if you like. And all of a sudden, there were various MPs, because it mattered so much to them, this particular issue, that they broke that convention of 300 or 400 years and essentially said, no, I'm not going to pair with anybody on this. So pairing in Parliament, pairing and whittling away your tent pegs.
Yes.
There's always a lovely succulent pair.
There is.
And there is a pair of socks.
There's a pair of socks.
And there's a
Loads
pair
of
of pairs and a pair of jeans. So if you think of any other pairs.
Let us know about your pairs.
Yes.
We'd
Yes.
love to.
Are you
send
happy
them on
in
a
your
postcode.
pair?
Are you? Are you? Would you like to?
Apparently
tear
we're
your
not.
pair?
Yeah.
I'm happy.
He's a self man. A self man. Anyway,
It's not
so
at all. It's
pair.
not just about you, Richard. It's about the bobbers out there as well.
Yes.
Because it's not just us, is it?
Well, I hope they're happy in a pair.
Absolutely.
Because I think there is strength in a pair. And I think there is the sum of a pair is greater than the singleton.
True.
Isn't it?
Well, it can be. The only thing I'd say, I mean, that's true of 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, behind every great woman, there's a great man.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's quite what I was supposed to say, but...
I mean, well, we could talk about that kind of things all day long, and maybe we shouldn't go there today. But pairing off, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we won't go there.
I think I've just been paired off, haven't
I? You have not. You are my partner. We are partners. But even our partnership has become a triad recently, hasn't it?
It has. It has.
And I think that has grown.
So maybe there is strength in greater numbers.
There's strength in greater numbers is what I could certainly agree with.
So a pair is better than one, but not as good as a triumvirate.
Exactly. 2 is better than 1, but 3, 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3, 3 leads to everything.
So our pairing.
You do this every time. And he wants to be a partnership, and yet he just does things like that. You're a complicated man, aren't you?
I'm a complicated man. A complicated man. So, Sidebank,
yes.
What's your second square of this 4, of this slice of Battenberg?
My second square this week is a...
Don't do it again, are you? Have you forgotten again?
I haven't forgotten, no. I just thought I'd leave this one to spontaneity.
Spontaneity?
Spontaneity. I've done this already today. Maybe we should... I said, what did I say earlier on? I said Mirthenroyd instead of Mythenroyd, or is it the other way around? Mythenroyd,
where they're all sadly flooded out at the moment.
Pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Sims came down, didn't he?
He did.
Chicago John with some coffee.
The shooter.
The shooter Sims.
Go get him, shooter.
After Sunday, John will go down as the world's worst snooker player. Unfortunately, John had a family do and turned up after having had a few. And his partner,
and a few more
we
that.
played them as a partnership, John and this professional pool player.
Yes.
Sean. Yes. And Sean, after John's third scratch, where he'd actually missed the white ball, never mind
he scratched. He completely miscued and gave 4 away. And then he got 8. He made a score of 8. And then he miscued again. And then he miscued again after that. So on average,
at which point the professional pool player decided he would go back to his beer.
Yeah, he sulked off.
Left
he was like,
I'm going. Just standing there.
That's a fair weather partner for you.
Yeah, they weren't much of a pair, were
You
they?
coached him through with you, like, centre the ball, John, come on.
Centre the ball.
And as soon as he stopped saying centre the ball, John started miscuing again.
Focus, John. I need beer. Focus, John.
Yeah.
Focus.
He's like, it's the chalk.
Did,
I don't want any of your chalk. You're a shitty chalk. This is Chicago chalk.
And it actually said made in Chicago.
It did. I told a look.
I'm very impressed because without his glasses, he's not the greatest. So he must have known that one.
I think he did. Yes. So yeah. So that was that, wasn't it? But the people of Mythenroyd or Mythenroyd, they're not doing very well, are they, at the moment? Poor people. Or down by the river. It's not good.
Well, the whole of the Calder Valley is in trouble. Hebden Bridge is in trouble. And the amount of water that is around is just extraordinary. We've had snow all day up in Queensbury. And Queensbury and Denholm have been hit pretty hard. But a lot of it is about the floodwater just flying off the moorland, and there's no doubt in my mind that there is very much a human hand in this about the way in which the moorland has been
stripped, hasn't it? It's all those trees from
they call it managed.
Times.
They call it managed, and it's about diversity. And often the management of a moorland does increase the wildlife. It does, but the burning out of the heather, the taking of peat, has caused all sorts of issues.
When was peat taken? Peat taken on the moors.
What a beauty, actually. I once did some peat cutting.
Did
yeah,
you?
I did, yeah.
Poor Pete.
I stole a bit of Pete.
Like that forestry management.
That's not good, is it?
That's been going on for thousands of years. Like up in Bale,
Oh, it has, yeah.
They have just been felling trees for fun. Or, well, they'd see it as necessary for settlement and
it's what they have as
grazing.
entertainment up there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So what are you doing this Friday? Oh, I got a good tree lined up. Gonna hack that bad boy down. Gonna take me till Saturday, I reckon. Got a bush ready for Sunday.
Right. You better spruce yourself up then.
Hey,
That's two.
that's it.
That's two all, isn't it?
I don't
So
know.
what's go on? I'm a little
Well,
confused. I mean, I'm quite happy for this square to just be called Mytham Right.
Well, we could do. Yes, I like that. It's a bit Erston Vasey, isn't it?
Royston Vase.
No, this square is me getting things slightly wrong in my pronunciation of them. I think.
Oh, okay, pronunciation.
That's one of the themes so far of this square. I mean, I thought we part of what Bob is a spontaneous interaction, isn't it? So, and part of that is taking that to the nth degree. So I thought to really get our flow going, just make it completely spontaneous. So this is an empty square.
So what other words do you actually mispronounce?
Couscous is another one.
Couscous.
You say couscous, I say couscous.
Actually, I'm probably more likely to say couscous myself, actually.
Couscous is a great way of saying
Yeah, isn't
couscous.
it? Yeah.
It's got bounce.
I mean,
bounce in that. Couscous.
I mean, it's pretty crap stuff, really, isn't it? I mean, couscous.
Go on.
I want it to be more succulent, more big, and a bit more fulfilling than couscous.
Couscous. Well, this is it. Yeah, I love couscous.
It's dry.
It needs to be cooked better. If you get it with some oil, get some olive oil around it, chilies, coriander. You can put anything in it to zhuzh it up.
To do what?
Zhuzh it.
Zhuzh it?
Yes.
Where does
Make
that come?
it Moorish. That comes
Where's
in.
zhuzh?
That can start when you're actually boiling your couscous down. So you can flavour that couscous from the start.
It's a very northern pronunciation of a very North African dish, product or crop, isn't
Well, I bet they don't say couscous. I bet they say al halal sal dalalak.
Is that mispronunciation at its finest?
Well, yes. Or the sun time has gone the other way, I think, with that one in all
You're
honesty.
Arabian.
My Arabian Nights.
Your Arabian
The production's
Nights.
going very well. I'm
Yeah.
bringing it to a theatre near everybody soon.
They flood it, you know.
One would just be surprised.
No, the Arabian Nights.
They flood it.
Wherever they turn up, there's 1,001 of them, you know.
Oh. All right. You win.
But no. So mispronunciation.
Yeah, I guess so.
Any others?
I used to do spoonerisms
Did you?
quite a lot. So
Is
I
that
remember-
something
I can't
everyone will
remember
know
if
what a
I've said-
spoonerism is? What's a good example of a spoonerism?
So a spoonerism. Well, I don't know if I said this on this show before, but I'll say it again, even if I have done.
Please do.
Which I once was ordered. There was a really nice butty shop, like breakfast shop in Baildon, called the Tasty Corner, which is long gone. Well, it's still a cafe, but it's not the same. And they did a beautiful sausage, bacon and egg sandwich, and I had to think about that for a second.
Pack it in. I've had very little today.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was the finest around. And I went in to order one of these, and I said to the lady, "Can I have a sausage, bacon, bacon sandwich, please?"
A bacon bacon.
Yeah. And she was like, "You what?"
Excellent.
And I still couldn't get it quite right. So I said once again, "Can I have a sausage, bacon, bacon sandwich?" She was like,
Who is this guy?
Exactly. And I think on the third time I managed to get it right. But that would be an example of a spoonerism. So you get the, if people don't know what spoonerism is, it's when you swap the first letters of a word or phrase. So what would be another good spoonerism?
Yangthu. Yeah.
Yang-Thu, yeah.
Everyone.
I know Yang-Thu. Very
Yeah.
gracious man.
Yeah, is he a
yes.
friend of Lao Tzu's?
No, what you... Ping pong's exactly the same, isn't it?
There's a few around here that in the north that people mispronounce, and they've sort of become quite cutesy, if you like. I quite like them.
Go on.
When somebody said, I heard somebody the other day, and they were talking about skeletons,
Yeah.
and they were saying, Oh, there were some skeletons in his closet.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very northern, very Yorkshire, Lancashire border almost. The skeleton.
Skellington.
I'm not sure where that comes from, but it is something that people say and is accepted to be said. Another one is chimney
Chimney.
instead of chimney.
I've been watching
I
too
don't
much
use
Mary
that one myself.
Poppins.
Or skeleton for that matter, but they're more accepted now. And mispronouncing things, it seems to be a kinder world in a little bit than it used to be in that regard.
Yes.
People used to take the piss out of somebody who might say skeleton or whatever.
Mm.
But it has been more sort of accepted that these sort of mispronunciations, if you like, are local and accepted locally.
Yeah, well, it's this thing about getting what people mean, and you can be the pedantic one, can't you? If you really fancy
The grammar police and so
it's
on,
like,
yeah.
no, it's actually couscous or whatever. It's like, well, okay,
For
fine.
fun.
It's like, did you know what I mean? Well, yes, but it's not the way I think you should be saying it. It's like, well, okay, good for you.
You see, I like couscous.
Me too.
Yeah.
And you see, yeah, so you can. There's that famous episode of Friends where Ross is, who's seen as very scientific and precise. Yeah. He was, I can't remember exactly what happened, but somebody was saying something wrong, and he was getting very annoyed at it, and he just couldn't let it go.
I think I struggle with my siblings.
Right.
Both of whom have kind of, at various times, lost their northernness.
All right.
By spending far too much bloody time down in the south of this isle.
Mm.
My sister now lives on Jersey. Rob's back up north, but he's still speaking in a slightly strange way.
Mm.
And the classic ones that sort of almost grate on me, which is quite weird, really, because it shouldn't do, because there's no reason for it. But the mispronunciation of things like grass.
Grass, yeah, grass.
Grass has an R in it before the S's. It's grass.
So, yeah. It is.
Bath.
Well, this is it. Bath, yes. It's
Sandcastle. Castle. Why add an R and then pretend you're right?
Yeah, an R or an H, couldn't it?
Yeah, actually, phonetically and grammatically, there's no doubt in my mind that Northerners are right in this.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there we go.
Is there anything else in your blank square you'd like to bring? Or are we just going to call it? Can I call it mispronunciations?
You can call it what you like.
Because that's what it's become, really, isn't it?
Yes.
But I guess it just shows that any conversation can actually come from...
Start a conversation. Come from nothing. Creating something from nothing. I went all Tai Chi then.
You did, didn't you?
Phil, I need to come and see you.
Yeah, Phil, yeah. Tai Chi, in the mez, no problem.
Absolutely.
About another 25 days.
25 days, the
and
countdown's on.
We've planned it out.
We have.
We've planned it out.
It's a strategy. My God. They are in trouble.
We're strategizing.
We are. So, yes, that square is done. That's my square.
Nice one. Nice one. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Mispronunciations. Or pronunciations.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I have got a second square.
Okay.
And it's been inspired by probably the thing that I was one of those pugilistic fans, or pugilist fans, fans of pugilism, that stayed up to watch the extraordinary Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, on Saturday night.
Oh, yes.
On the grounds that due to the powers of the internet, I was able to find it and watch it on YouTube. Quite an extraordinary tale of bringing you back from a redemptive tale for Tyson Fury, no doubt about it. And in terms of boxing fans, it was the most extraordinary boxing display that I've seen for probably quite a long time. Probably the second best win by a Brit in America I've ever seen. And that's saying something. Behind Lloyd Honeyghan, who defeated, at that time, the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, a guy called Don Curry, who was known as the Cobra. And he was, I think, probably unbeaten and was so far ahead of all his peers that they sort of sent Lloyd Honeyghan out there as cannon fodder. And he ended up coming back with the world titles.
Okay.
I think he was an undisputed world champion as well.
So your square is?
My square is excuses
Excuses.
Because the
Right.
foe of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber from Atlanta, who was actually a brilliant boxer in his own right. He just equaled Muhammad Ali's all-time record for 10 consecutive defences of a world title.
Wow.
Heavyweight world title, or the WBC world title to be specific. And his excuse for not performing in the ring, you know these stage walk-ons?
All right, yeah.
Well, Tyson Fury, you'll not be surprised to know that he's not backwards in coming forward, his lad. Man, you wouldn't be at 6'9", 19 and a half stone. He came on being held in a throne
Right.
with a crown on his head. Deontay decided what he'd do was some sort of black power thing. So because it's Black History Month, that was right. And he dressed up as the character from, I think it's one of the Marvel films. I'm not that clear what it was, but it was essentially a big armoured sort of chest plate, and there was lights around his eyes. It was all very scary and very sort of very sort of doom-like. And apparently this outfit weighed 40 pounds.
Right.
And he blamed not having strength in his legs or strength for the fight because his outfit in his ring walk was too heavy.
Well, he got a little distracted there, it seems, didn't he, from what he's actually
Which I thought was one of the
to do.
stupidest excuses I've ever heard in my life.
It's not a beauty pageant.
He said, I got sidetracked and I made a mistake. Did you? You got pummeled. You got outfought. You got outboxed. And then you come up with stupid things like that. You're supposed to get real.
Yeah.
And most excuses are like that, aren't they? They make you feel like, get real.
Yeah.
Be honest. If you've buggered up, say you buggered up.
Yeah.
Admit it. Say sorry.
You'll settle better if you do that.
You'll be better off in yourself, Deontay.
You will.
And next time, come in a light outfit. But excuses, yeah. So
excuses are always on the tip of your tongue, aren't they, when you feel like you've done something wrong?
There's a nice definition of excuses. And that is to seek to lessen the blame attaching to a fault or offence. And I think excuses sort of very much sort of merge and meld themselves into lies.
Yes.
Most excuses are not the truth. That's sort of the definition of an excuse, really. If you're giving a reason for something not happening, then that's what you're doing. You know, you're saying it didn't happen because my car was, I don't know, jumped on by an elephant at Knowsley Safari Park or whatever, and I've spent the last 2 weeks in hospital. That's a reason. That's not an excuse for not doing something. That's the truth. Whereas an excuse is something I think you probably make up on the spot. And I wondered if you'd come up with some good excuses in your time.
Oh, good excuses.
You know, it's like dog ate my homework or anything like that.
Literally just hit my I did do that once. I didn't say a dog because we didn't have a dog, so I couldn't feed it.
That wouldn't matter, would it?
Well, you could chew it yourself, couldn't you? I suppose.
Oh yeah, you embellish an excuse, don't you?
Well, I cut up my homework once and said that my little brother had cut up my homework.
Did he cut it up into so much small pieces so that you couldn't tell it whether you'd done it or not?
Well, obviously, yeah.
That probably took you longer than it would take to do your homework.
Oh, I was a very lazy child. Demotivated, misplaced. I had an excuse every time. Usually I'd forgotten my book. That was my excuse. I haven't done my homework. I just won't bring my book. It's like, I've forgotten my book again.
Were you called to task on these things?
Yes, I was given plenty of detentions for them. My maths teacher really hated me. She just hated me anyway. I rarely did my homework, but she'd always pick on me. She'd love to pick on me to see if I'd done my homework. I'd never done it anyway. So she got a reward. Well, she was quite an unhappy woman, to be honest. So I think it didn't matter either way. She was,
I've fallen for some good excuses.
Okay.
I was in Great Yarmouth as a kid, and a friend of mine, Steve, he came up with the best excuse I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And basically, we worked very long hours, and then we went to the pub. So getting up fairly early in the morning was quite difficult. Anyway, he turned up about an hour late, and Albert Pont, who was in charge of the South Deans bingo and amusement arcade at the time. He'd already given him a couple of warnings, so he was really on the edge of losing this job. And he came in and he was all of a tiz with Steve. And he said to Albert, he says, I'm really sorry, but the Pony and Trap that goes down the front at Great Yarmouth, he said, I was on my motorbike, and we both had motorbikes at the time. And he said, and the horse was scared of my bike, of me revving the bike, and it bolted. And it turned over the Pony and Trap. And I had to rescue the guy who drives the Pony and Trap and help the horse out of its harnesses and so on. And obviously I had to see that he was all right. And then I've come straight away into work as fast as I can, Albert. And Albert stuck his arm around him and went, son, I'm really proud of you. Really, really proud of you. He said, and yeah, no problem. Do you want a cup of tea? Anyway, he had his cup of tea with Albert, and he come round the back. And I said, have you really been saving people from Pony and Traps? And I'd fallen for it. Everyone in the place, there were about 20, 10 of us, something like that, 15 of us. And he said, no, have a bugger. And I just thought, some people can just roll those excuses off their tongue, can't they? And at what point does your whole trust in somebody actually, somebody who makes up lots of excuses for things, not reasons, but excuses for things that are palpably not true, do you kind of lose your respect and your understanding of someone when that type of thing happens, or did you just laugh, or do you face them up on it?
You could do any of those. I have something I've learned recently that I hadn't thought before. It's my friend Lazu, and he said you should trust people whether or not they're trustworthy. You should trust people because they are trustworthy, and you trust them even if you don't think you should. And like, mistrusting someone breeds mistrust. If you think, there's a thing about governing, and they say that if you don't trust the people will become untrustworthy.
Yes.
So whether or not someone lies or not, you should really take their word for it, I guess.
So it's kind of disrespecting others in many ways if you do throw an excuse into the works.
Well, yeah, I think it's interesting why people do that. I mean, it's obviously they're unable to be at one with what actually happened in that situation, and they're lying to themselves just as much as anybody else probably. So it's a disconnect, isn't it? An excuse in that way.
I've been an organizer in my time, and I for my not my sins at all. It was a very enjoyable part of my life. But I was a golf club captain, and we started this league for the better golfers. Or we didn't start it; we joined the league because we were a relatively new club at Laceby, and it was the A League, the Scratch League, and people were a little bit fearful of playing in this league, because the best golfers played in this game. There were sort of people with a handicap of naught, and some with actually a negative handicap. Some of the very best amateur players. So there was a bit fearful, and I used to try and put this team together, and I was off about 7 at the time as a handicap. So I was struggling in it, but I saw it as a big challenge. And others saw it completely different. And come round the Saturday morning or the Wednesday evening, whenever the thing was, I used to get some of the most extraordinary excuses. And all they would have to say was, I'm not feeling that confident about playing, and I'd perhaps put them with a more confident partner because it was mostly doubles. And this one guy I rang up on, and I'm stood on the tee at Cleethorpes it was. And I said to him, where are you? And he said, I'm really, really sorry, Captain. He said, but I've had to play Scrabble with my mother. And he just put a phone down on me.
Yeah.
Now, is that a reason or excuse? I think it was probably true.
He's so embarrassed by the truth of it.
He'd obviously created an excuse for himself not to play it. And he was one of the better golfers, but it was one of those situations where it was a difficult thing to do, and maybe that's where Deontay was. Maybe he was a bit befuddled by how much Tyson Fury had pummeled him. But in terms of, he had to come up with something. Otherwise, he'd have to admit to himself that actually he wasn't good enough,
Yeah, he'd missed the mark.
and that he'd actually beggared up.
Yeah.
So excuses, I think, cover an awful lot of frailties, if you like. And one of the things that I wanted to bring just as a last thing on Bob this week is we've talked, and I specifically have talked, but we've talked and agreed for a long time about being kind and giving people leeway to make mistakes, because, let's face it, we are two of the more flawed individuals on this planet.
Oh, I'm not sure that's fair.
Don't make any excuses.
I'm not.
But in terms of being kind to people and accepting people for who they are, another mispronunciation that goes around it, warts and all. Warts and all, whichever it is. And the Caroline Flack thing, where she urged everybody to be kind when she was in a situation where it was it was an unproven thing. She claimed it was an accident. Her boyfriend wasn't actually pressing charges. The police felt that it was something far more serious, and therefore it was a public interest thing. To keep somebody who was capable of something like this, or bring them to some kind of justice. And being kind has now become the sort of Me Too of 2020. And I think being kind to people, because everybody has their own crosses to bear. Everyone has their histories. Everyone has their abilities. And to judge everybody equal across the whole raft of life and skills and abilities is silly, because we aren't equal across all those things.
No.
And nor is it particularly helpful if people who are better at certain things denigrate others for not being as good as them at that.
Yeah.
Because they're, for the grace of God, go you. And those people who judge in such ways are generally heading for a fall. And they'll start making excuses. So be kind, folks. I'm very kind of pleased that kindness is becoming far more central to our conversations. And if there's one thing in the coming week that, if anybody is thinking about having a real crack or is not feeling at their best, don't take it out on others.
Someone else.
Don't take it out on others. It's the classic treat others as you'd like to be treated. Yes.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is it, in life, where you can see, you think, oh, someone's doing a really crap job of whatever that is over there, and then you're really pissed off with that, but then you equally fudge it up in another instance.
Exactly.
And it's like, there you go.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
We've all got. If you don't be
not
kind,
everybody.
then don't expect
I have to do
kindness.
it every Sunday night with John and Si and the people of the Parkside. I whenever I'm playing snooker, I just have to be kind to others. And accept, that one day somebody will come along who can give me a good game. That's the pride before a fall. I'll get stuffed on Sunday. Just you watch it.
I'm saying nothing.
Okay, so that's my square. Excuses.
Yeah,
nice
there we
one.
go.
And I will shake your hand.
Oh, for the first time.
Because you're a fine young man.
Cool, blimey. End on a compliment.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you.
So, Bob 2.1, in the can.
In the can.
Most enjoyable.
We're off.
Start them conversations, people, and if you want to interact with us either on Facebook or wherever you see us or whatever, suggest a square.
Yes, we'd love to hear a square suggestion.
And hopefully we'll see them all again next week, won't we?
Yes, we should do a live show again sometime.
I'll bring two squares and say I'll make it up on... No, we won't. That was lovely. No, that was good. That was really good. Nice one.
Good
Side by the Poacher Guy.
Mr. Sleek.
Next week.
Always gone for it.
I've gone for it twice.
Bloody hell.
That fooled him.